Let's call our meeting to order. Board members, staff, guests, and members of the public are reminded that the full authority board committee meeting is being recorded and will be posted to the authority's website, along with the official written minutes. As such, any comments and opinions expressed may be published, and any comments expressed by individual board members, guests, and the general public are their own and do not represent the opinions or comments of the full authority or the KCCA board of directors. The recorded video of the full authority meeting is not considered the official record of that meeting. The official record of the full authority meeting shall consist solely of the minutes approved by the full authority. Welcome everyone. Do we have any declarations of pecuniary interest? Seeing none, let's move to our first matters arising. Self-insured short-term disability proposal.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. KCCA is part of Conservation Ontario's Employee Benefits Plan. There's a Conservation Ontario committee that oversees that plan every year. Currently, we're with Sun Life Financial, and there's 28 of the 36 CAs participating in that program. In terms of short-term disability, it's just one of the benefits that's part of that plan. KCCA is one of only 3 CAs that are still utilizing that part of the group benefits. At this year's renewal, the short-term disability premium increased 113%, which means related to about $152 increase for kettle. So over the next couple of years, we expect that specific benefit to continue to increase, mainly because there's so few CAs still left in that part of the plan. So at 3 CAs, there's 57 plan members insured under that policy. And the 2018-2019 loss ratio was about 316%. So $780 in premiums was paid out versus was taken in versus the $21,250 in paid claims. So KCCA itself has had no claims in 2018 and 2019, and in my 16 or more years here, we've had one claim at the beginning of that period. So it's not a heavily used benefit. Sun Life did propose an increase about 124%, and Buffett Taylor negotiated them down to 113%. So it could have been worse. But our agent did negotiate them down. That has been clear with us that they expect it to continue to increase, and will be harder and harder to negotiate a better term. So what we're proposing in terms of controlling this cost is to look at self-insured short-term disability, and this is what the majority of the CAs have done. We also have long-term disability that begins after 105 days of short-term disability under the current plan. I think that's pretty typical. The annual cost savings of going to self-insured would be about $3,444, and that would be an annual cost savings moving forward. The proposed short-term disability plan that was included in your advanced packages would possibly qualify KCCA for EI premium reduction as well, as long as we can meet all of the requirements of that. And the proposed policy that I put out in the advanced package meets all of those EI premium requirements, minimum requirements. All full-time service, regular service employees with more than 3 months of continuous service would be eligible for a maximum of 15 weeks, or the 105 days until short-term or until long-term disability kicks in. After 105 days of uninterrupted, they would go on to long-term disability through the group benefits plan. The benefit actually paid out would be 66.7% of the employee's gross pay. And there would be really no impacts to the budgets, because what I'm proposing is that we wouldn't set up a reserve to cover this. We would, if someone goes on short-term disability, we have the wage cost savings of not having them at work, and typically we wouldn't replace that person for such a short period of time. We would backfill. So we're just taking their wage and actually it's a cost saving because we're only paying them 66%. We're still saving money. And again, it's not a heavily used plan. The employees have 15 sick days, so they're usually using those in that situation, and then only kicking into short-term disability if that's necessary. So the draft policy was included, oops, that was fast. The draft policy was included in your package, and the motion would be that that you recommend the adoption of that personnel policy, and further that staff be directed to take the necessary steps to enact it.
Any questions? Bill?
Yeah, I don't see a downside. I'd like to move that.
Okay, I have a question. I was reading through it,
Okay.
and I noticed that there was an exception if there was a break in the coverage. So if they're on short-term disability, and then whether they come back for a day and then find that they can't handle it, I'm sure that's what I read someplace in there. I didn't mark it, unfortunately. So I was just wondering about that.
The final bullet, I don't know if that's where it is, the final bullet on, under eligibility and guidelines, it's for a new disability reinstatement of coverage of 15 weeks or 105 days. Coverage will occur after 1 month of return to active service.
Okay.
So you'd have to at least be back to service for 1 month for a new disability to occur.
Okay.
But if it was a recurrence, if the subsequent disabilities are occurrence of an earlier one, full benefits will be reinstated no later than 3 months after the employee returns to work.
Okay. I was reading through it, and I may have misread, but it sounded as if someone's off and then they try to return to work and it doesn't pan out, do they lose that disability, do they lose that support, or do they continue the support?
No, it would be continue the support, and I think that there's a medical documentation as well. So if we got into a case of a very complicated short-term disability, there's medical documentation we can ask for as well. When I was speaking to Buffett Taylor, our representative, they will offer a service as well that you would pay an outside agency to monitor the short-term disability and navigate you through that. To make sure that everything's being done legitimately, so that you ultimately aren't making the decisions about when it starts, when it ends, when they're coming back, so that they can have that third party
Okay.
in there as well.
Well, I agree with Bill. I think it's a very logical thing to do. Bill?
If you was to cure as a doctor's note still required for after 3 consecutive days or something like that, is that old kind of out the window now? I can't remember. I think mentioned
I
that.
believe, you guys are testing me. They, when the province changed the ESA standards for the 3 emergency leave days, I believe at that time, the ESA said that you couldn't ask for a medical note for those circumstances.
I heard something like that, I couldn't remember exactly.
Yeah, but I think when you're looking at short-term disability, that the statement here, that the restrictions will cease if the employer refused to present an acceptable medical certificate. I mean, we need to know that information to either continue it or to work through a return to work plan as well. So that's a little bit different than using those emergency leave days or a regular sick leave day.
Okay. Any other questions at all? Okay, so Bill, okay, second it. Any other comments? All in favor? Carried.
See if you're in prison, you still have
Pardon?
it. That's the thing, you're in prison, you're not
Oh,
eligible.
yes. That's good.
Okay, so
So we need a motion to.
motion to go into closed session from Allison. Bill, all in favor? Thank you, so we're now in closed session. So we've had our motion to come back into open session. We need a motion now for staff to proceed on the directions that we gave.
Can I just read out the actual
Sure.
motion? Sorry.
Okay.
That the 2020 salary proposal incorporating a 1.9% cost of living increase to the salary grid and merit-based movement through the grid for permanent staff be adopted and incorporated into the 2020 draft budget, and that staff proceed as directed on the personnel matter.
Bill, Allison, all in favor? Carried. Any new business at all? Seeing none, move for adjournment. Allison, Grant? Done.